he reached out to you and gave you a gift. That's the guy that when you gave a stem cell transplant for your sister, that's the guy that sent us the edible arrangements. Like, what a thoughtful human being. So when we talk about purpose, like, I can't think of anyone better to deliver a message on purpose than Edwin for us. So I'm going to stop talking, let you take over. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening. Can anybody see me over here? So thank you, JV. He was going to make me cry right before I walked in front of everybody, but thank you. That's my big brother. I've learned more from him than I probably give him credit for, and doing some pretty cool things yourself. We need to get you to talk about your purpose in the forum like this. So Edwin Salako, or Salako, you talked about overseas. That's Salako is a Yoruba name, West African, Nigerian, for what that's worth. But I bring that up to speak to just briefly what some of the things that will influence our purpose, how we form our worldviews and how we go about doing some things. So why are we here today, right? And why me? Because thank you, JV, but I think there are any one of a number of people who can speak to their purpose. But surprisingly, if you ask the question, just out of the blue, next time you're talking to somebody, what's your purpose? Or, write a personal mission statement is another way that we can align a discussion around purpose. Angles good? So I'm trying to find my notes. I covered them up. Purpose, learn how to use a computer if you call yourself a technologist. Right? At TAG Summit, Roger and I, we're at TAG together, but I'm asking people how to help me find the QR code in LinkedIn so you can scan. And so, but we do different types of things. I do enterprise technology. I don't do consumer level technology. So, but purpose, right? It's subjective. My purpose should be different from yours. It's as unique as a fingerprint. So we have this societal agreement that when we have varying definitions for things, we meet in the middle. It's called a dictionary, a very low-tech way to go about getting on the same page. So before I delve in a little deeper, this is conversational, interactive. So at least I thrive off of two-way communication. So jump in, scream, shout, move your seats around, get pizza. Let's have a BDPA, a Future Forward Atlanta family discussion. But the low-tech definitions from Oxford Dictionary state what seems obvious, right? The reason for which something is done or created, for which something exists, and the action part of that is have as one's intention or objective, right? Pretty simple, right? However, there's that piece that is we don't always have clarity around our objective or purpose, our set of principles, right? We know a lot about how to do specific things, like I'm a job title, I'm a principal technologist, I'm a CRM developer, I'm a desktop support, I'm a whatever it is. And those job descriptions are very specific, and these are the skills, and this is how you need to do things. But that why, like how we show up to do it, starts to get a little sketchy. So the Future Forward ATL / BDPA in this leadership series very clearly recognized that more has to be done to help us merge that clarity, that sense of self, with what the broader organizational missions are. And we see a lot of leadership gaps there where earn revenue, right? Generate metrics, accomplish this, but what does that really mean in practice of helping to guide or support the people who make it real? That's why it matters. There's some other very interesting things we'll get into about why it matters even more in the last, let's say, 2 or 3 years. But comments, questions around purpose? Does everybody have a clear purpose now? Let's jump to the next one. So, why purpose? So there's any one of a number of things that we consider important in what we are doing with our lives, right? Like, it doesn't have to be purpose, but I think there's some power in purpose because, again, it's how we show up, right? You can do a number of things to get that title or to get assigned that job, but there's the character piece to it, right? Famous story, well, for older guys like me, famous story, Steve Jobs talks about, building something with his father, and he was young, and he didn't want to, it was going to be a component within an enclosure, and no one would see that it wasn't finished a certain way. And his father said, well, go redo it, finish it. Well, no one will see it, the young Steve Jobs says. And his father says, well, but you'll know. You saw it. You know it's not as good as it could be. So you could imagine how that lesson, at least he said it did, it influenced the culture around design, fit and finish, excellence, becoming the products we know today that were typically a notch above in quality, fit and finish, and et cetera, back when. Good luck trying to get the accountants today to agree to spend the extra time and resources on things. Not easy. But we desire to project ourselves onto our world. How do we want to show up? That character, that purpose. And we've all worked or played with people who were good at something, but we didn't like to be around them. My brother here, Vamshi, and I worked for a brilliant leader, and the leader could be tough on us sometimes, but we both don't work there anymore, right? And what's the cost to your organization? What does attrition cost when you have brilliant folks go out the door? And right? So, why purpose? Questions, thoughts, ideas around that? Your why. This is where it gets personal. Let's dig in there. Thank you, Steve. Who is open to revealing a little bit of themselves on paper? We just talked about Chat GPT things, prompting. I figured I would challenge everybody with writing. We've got pens, courtesy matrix, we've got pens. As a matter of fact, let's pass it along. But you didn't expect it. So you're well prepared. All right. So, strictly examples. This is open-ended. You can write whatever you want. Not because I said so, because you've got your own story to tell. folks on the Zoom, please, you can type your own or write down. There's a resonance, a collective energy. The more of us that do this, the more powerful it is. So even remotely, you can contribute to this exercise.
Can I have more than one?
You can have as many or as long a purpose as you want. That's the beauty of it. Is the audio still okay? I was wondering, maybe you could dial in on this.
No one's said it.
No,
I can't hear.
I was thinking this conference phone, if it comes to show, you can old school dial in.
Oops.
The animations get tricky, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what. There you go. Fantastic. Okay, check
Yeah.
the chat. All right. Lefty. 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 So good. I mean, lefties, we have to have a more, let's say, urgency towards living our sense of purpose, because on average, we have a shorter lifespan. I don't know if you wanted to. Lefties, some small percentage of.
I plan to live to 100, man, so.
Can happen, absolutely. On average, if I bomb here today, it'll shorten my life, and I'll do the low side and you do the high side of improving our average. But okay, everyone's finished writing. Everybody is replete with purpose now, right? Everyone feels, okay, good. Keep that handy. That is going to, we're going to build on that later. By the way, my purpose statement would be ultimate protector, provider, family, loved ones, friends, and to give what I've been given. That's my purpose. I try to keep it as concise as that. It may change in a couple of years, who knows, but if not, it would be a book, right? We do have books. We're gonna give out books for folks who come up with some good answers today as well. All right, so we have purposes written down. And by the way, some of you, I'm sure, know this, transcribing there's like a power that gets added. It makes it more likely, particular activating system, and that's a whole nother discussion, but all right. Let's pop over to the next page. Let's go to common objective. All right, so we've got our own mission or purpose statement, but we see the breakdowns in individual purpose or objective and organizational purpose and objective. And an organization should not, you don't have to think of that in terms of a business or a company you work for. An organization may be a tribe, group of friends. It's your family is an organism within itself, etymology, basis, organ, organization, organism. So anytime more than one person is attempting to accomplish something that requires another person, you're forming a system, an organization, an organism, and you have collective goals. Pretty obvious, right? But can you say to yourself now, so challenge to you is, what do we need to collectively achieve? Victor, you work for a huge company, and you know your company's objectives generally. You're dialed in, you're tuned in. What percentage of people you work with on a daily basis do you feel have that same general idea of what the company's objectives are?
Most of them, so I get 100%, it's high 90 plus.
Good. So there's that good alignment, that they do a good job of. Fantastic. Anyone else, their organization, that their company has the collective objective. So anyone you walk up to, say, hey, what are we trying to accomplish? That they have command of that. If you could, percentage, throw out a number.
I think we get lost.
Yeah.
I mean, what we do is really simple, right? We find and help find people jobs.
Yep.
We help people find jobs, helping clients find people. But when I look around, like all our departments,
Bingo.
our IT department, our finance department, they don't really, they have no idea what my team does. Like, they're doing finance and IT work. They're not in the guts of the business. They're not concerned about the relationships that we develop with people like you, whether you're a candidate or a client. So the purpose, their purpose is very different. It's not common. That's not a common.
It's not a common objective.
A shared purpose might be at like a C-level exec saying, we're gonna grow 10% this year or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
That doesn't really, that purpose, that's like lost. People
Right.
are like, I don't.
Yeah.
If I grow my income 10%, then I care about that.
Right.
But generally, they don't care about that.
Yep.
So I think there's loss, like I don't
Yep.
know the percentage on it, but is that what you're?
That's exactly, and that was going to be my follow-up of, does it vary by department?
Yeah,
So-
so, and I think to add on to what John was stating, so, if we're both going to MARTA station right now, I choose to walk, you choose to get in your car, chooses to bike there, someone else is on a skateboard. We all want to go to the MARTA, but the direction we take based on our discipline may make it appear that
Right.
we're not in sync.
That's
So
right.
we're still going towards the same path.
Right.
It's just we're choosing different
Different
ways to
ways.
get there, which in turn, right? So if I'm in technology and you're in marketing and just your brain operates in a particular way, we may have conflict based on our discipline and role, but we're still trying to achieve a similar outcome,
Exactly.
right? So definitely by department, how you execute, it's going to be different.
Right.
But then you have to have those folks, like John was saying, at whatever level. So if it's at C level, senior executive, you have to have those folks that can bring the disparate visions of the different departments together for consensus sake, right? Because at the end of the day, have to get somewhere. Hopefully you can go together, on the same train.
Right.
Right?
Good, I'm glad you raised that.
Yeah,
Well-
I definitely agree you want that, but I see similar things, for the companies, the company has take an example of management, they have a common objective goal for this year or this quarter, increase 10% of staffing, what we are doing today, get 10 more percent of clients, But the person who's doing kind of financial side, raising some invoices to the customer, he really doesn't help. But it should correlate what his job is doing to align with the company goals. If you get the invoice processed in a timely manner,
Right.
that way the company revenue is going to be growing. Now, it's not directly common objective of company, but each individual are supporting. The supporting role basically should align with the company goals, a common objective. That's how.
They have to understand their why.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, in fact, it's all linked. Yeah, so if they understand like, hey, my part, while I'm not placing people that are gonna be, generating margin and revenue, I do have to like do my part in the whole function of it to
Right.
keep it all going.
You're right.
So that's their why.
That's it.
Yeah.
Probably make them understand to align with their job.
Yeah.
How it correlates with the common
Yes.
objective of company.
Yeah.
If you don't generate the invoice, don't follow from the customer, receive those payments from the finance department as usual, you're ending up losing some revenues at the end of the day.
Exactly.
That's what they have to
Exactly.
correlate and align with the company goals.
Or
That's
you
right.
frustrate your customers so much that they don't wanna keep doing business with you.
Oh,
So like if it's not easy to do business with your company,
Absolutely.
there's other companies that are
That's
easier
right.
to do business with, so.
Definitely, I agree.
Just one thing though, but that also needs to be, it's a top-down approach. So it has to come from the leadership down to the different levels. And in my experience, a lot of times that leadership and aligning with, only the ones that's not there, so they don't even know why they're there.
Yeah.
They're just there to process an invoice.
I think so. I think and I think that's the difference between like special companies and everyone else.
I think go ahead, no, you go ahead.
Because you really think about it, nothing's really new. It's like every company's literally offering the same thing. It's just that, again, that person to person is like how you're going to make your customers or your consumers feel as though they're part of the company. That, same thing with Apple. I'm pretty sure everybody here, part of the French family here has an iPhone.
Android.
Android, well, but if you think about Apple, it's like, okay, someone had my experience 2 weeks ago. They did a recent update. They were like, I think it was for them to take away the unsend message. So a lot of people were being upset about that because if someone does that, maybe you might have proof. But it's just like, hey, but there's people that love Apple so much they appreciate that. They rock Apple
That's right.
from head to toe.
That's right.
iPads,
Yeah.
to computer, to watches.
Yeah, that's right.
It wasn't a watch, but it's just I'm pretty sure Apple came out with the Apple Card.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, they're working on it.
They're working on it. But I was messing with you. I've got 2 iPads. I do. I mean, I have an Android phone, but you can't get out of the
I
ecosystem.
still prefer OS though. I
I'm
like
afraid
OS.
of it. I've never seen Apple product.
Yeah. I don't know.
At home, I'm like, this is pretty slick engineering. Like, wow, it's just, actually, you're gonna get me in trouble. Remember those iPads they gave to the sales team in 2014? I still have it. Right, it still works. It doesn't update, but it still works amazingly.
Something I was gonna throw out to you all, so I worked in 2 very different departments for the company I'm at. Worked in the technology department for the majority of my career, 17 years. Been in internal audit for 2 years. Very two separate disciplines on how they achieve the goal of saving the policyholder money, right? Internal audit is full of former accountants, financial operations folks. They're tight on budget. They get excited when they save $5, literally. They save $5 and they celebrate because they're pinching the pennies. In the technology department, the way we save money is by spending a lot, right? Because we wanted to ensure that our infrastructure, our tech stack, anything that was necessary for our employees to achieve the best outcomes for our policyholders, we want to make sure they had access to it.
That's right.
When I'm in internal audit and I go back to audit my technology department, I feel bad because I feel like a hypocrite because I'm like, I'm spending so much money, right? Couldn't you have done this without doing X, Y, Z?
Yeah.
But that's the lens you're looking from on how you save policyholder dollars.
That's right.
All of us want to save money, but the way we get
The
there
way you do it.
is different.
That's right.
So we have to respect each other's differences.
That's right.
on how we get to the outcome.
That's why I think there's always going to be, there should always be like a common objective. But I feel like different departments and different people are going to have like their own personal objective.
That's right.
And it's whether or not they let that conflict.
Well, the methodologies, and then keep me honest, Victor, the methodologies should be different. Diversity of thought is currency. We don't want groupthink, but we want alignment. So I'm glad you bring that up because we'll get into that a little bit also. Alignment isn't narrow vision, but it's having the right pieces or people positioned so that they can express themselves in all their glory. I want Victor's big spending, right? I'm going to Vegas. I want him. Vamshi is going to be more prudent. Those invoices, we're going to process lean kit, lean engineering. When it's time to go talk to Security Exchange Commission, but I need all of you on my team empowered, enabled with the common objective. This year, we have to cut costs. Now, I trust you to go off and do that. But what we're finding, you can ask GPT or you can do some research, that organizations, through its people, right? Like we listen to Marketplace or watch Bloomberg, and it's just the numbers. Apple stock up, down. But what money, gonna try not to divert, but what money really is, value really is the lifeblood of the people's efforts. And so when company is losing value, that's friction, that's inefficiency, that's people lacking alignment with that, right? The engineer was qualified to get hired and go in and do the job. So is the salesperson, so is the account. Everyone's there with the proper skills, but why is the company value fluctuating, right? That person didn't come to work with less of their skills in Q1. There's external market factors, et cetera, but their ability to adapt, ride the wave, and keep value high has a lot to do with having clarity, focus, and alignment.
One thing to add in a common objective. So if you ask any company what would be the objective of the company, increase the revenue, make profit, Other than this, do you see anything? Only with a non-profit, will be different case, but the C-level people, the leadership team should define not just a single objective, they should define number of objectives which each individual person in the company should reflect on those objectives.
Yes.
4 or 5, Example, finance should ensure that is a timely processing of payments. That's one of the objective,
Right.
company objective. Shouldn't be, that's not needed for the sales team, the common objective. That should be
That's correct.
one set of common objective. That way, the team also get involved with the company's goals and proceed as a team, you know. But if you ask me any company, what would be the final goal, you know?
Well, the
Increase the revenue,
statistics suggest that what you're saying is true for the majority of employees or team members or workers at a given company. Most people, we know that we make widgets. I'm an employee. We make cars, we make widgets, whatever, that's what we do. But that's kind of a byproduct of all of the other objectives. And people don't know the purpose other than I show up here, I toil, it's different from work, right?
That's not good enough.
It's,
To
well,
to the average person, like that's not enough. Like people want more,
they want more.
forgive the purpose, they wanna feel like I'm contributing to something that I believe in. So whether or not, I don't really care if we sell 10% more cars. Like what is that, how does that make me feel?
Yes.
Like the CEO's a lot richer, I still make the same amount.
Right.
You know, so there has to be like something in it to where
Right.
people are leaning in and feel like some emotional attachment to whatever the purpose is.
Good. We did not plan that.
John was a plant.
He's not a plan. That's perfect. That speaks to us starting with our own why, our own purpose why. The idea is that the better that we're aligned in that why or aware of that why, and we process our interactions with that good knowledge of self basis, we'll be more likely to align with companies or groups or organizations that fulfill my why while I fulfill theirs. So very, very good. That helps us move along. So what are we choosing to achieve together? It's not one way where Ford, I went to Detroit this weekend and I drove past the Toledo, Ohio Jeep plant. I drive a Jeep, so that was cool to see that. I drove past the 2 Ford factories and it was just like massive behemoths and just how many people work there. Can we count on that single organization, as large as it is, to say, I'm going to facilitate sense of purpose and engagement for each of the thousands of people that work there? This is where the two-way dynamic the alignment cannot be company on down. Similar to culture, we can influence culture from the bottom up and from the sides in order to come up with systems that operate more effectively, where there's more mutual benefit, less friction, less waste. We'll look at a metric regarding what the opportunity is for systems, organizations, companies to increase their alignment. So today, if you were to ask your developer, your dev pair, the developer next to you, you're going to ask them this question: what are we choosing to achieve together? It's very clear. You've got a requirements sheet and you guys are going to code this and we're going to develop a button or an algorithm or whatever. Very clear. But look at your matrixed organization, your organization chart, and move a few random places and go ask that person, what are we choosing to achieve together? That's where it gets murky, just like what we were talking about. We don't expect I'm a developer, I don't expect the finance person to say, we're going to build that algorithm together. But we would hope we could say collectively, we are looking to help achieve the market share number that the CEO laid out for us. This year, we need to grow like this so that we can take care of our customers like this. You get personal satisfaction by achieving the shared goal, and maybe you get a bonus too. Money still helps motivate, right? But what are we choosing to achieve together? Simple, powerful question that the next time you're in your office and you're just walking, the person that you don't talk to or don't work with every day, could you pull them aside, ask that question, and get something coherent from them? And if you're in a system where people shouldn't know, I shouldn't know accounting, agreed. But I should know the general purpose of that business unit or why they help reach the larger objective. We attempted to address that with CAFE, or Scaled Agile Framework, where we filter in broader objectives and we make it more detailed objectives as we go further into the business unit. So good point. Let's jump to.
Can I like totally break your rhythm?
Yes, sir.
So when I think about your career, you
Yep.
spent all that time at Cox, big, very successful, well thought out company. And then you spent
1 year.
you spent a year at a company or an organization called Operation Hope, which has an incredible purpose, right? Like much more, like that's something that people would be like, I get that. I get that, I get that. Like if that's what you were hungry for, like feeling more purpose, I get why I would go to work there as opposed to working for Cox and it's how many cars are going through the auction lanes and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So what, like, can we have you like,
Yep.
can you like open up the kimono and like
Sure
talk
can.
about like what life was like at Cox? What was the leadership like? Like what did they do to get alignment and shared, like from a leader, again, we're like leadership development here.
Right.
So what did those, like to hear, like what did those leaders do to like bring the purpose together? Maybe compare and contrast between Cox and
Operation Hope, sure can. I've got my story to tell, and it addresses that specifically. We could pivot to that right now if you guys are death by PowerPoint, had enough slides, but we could pivot. We're almost at 8, by the way. Is everybody good? Need a stretch break? Okay. So up to you, JV. We could. It's integrated, but we could
part of
pivot.
the purpose tonight too is to eat as much of this
Eat pizza.
So like that's a secondary.
Eat pizza.
purpose of the night.
As a matter of fact,
And there's chocolate chip cookies back there.
should we just bring them
Well,
in
yeah,
here?
we can do that if that's like,
Yeah, want to bring the
or
food?
tempt you. Yeah.
Bring the food.
Is it-
Okay. So no one threw tomatoes when I said more slides. So want to click through a couple more?
You're cooking right now, man.
Oh, I'm clicking. Okay. No, we're clicking.
Which one you want?
So alignment. All right. Whether we're doing this in our personal lives or we're doing this as a part of an organization, what we are ultimately all really looking to achieve is some type of alignment. Right? At end of the day, and why? Alignment, because we want our desired outcomes. Pretty straightforward, right? All right. So we've got our purpose statement and we understand common objectives. Should all equal why, getting clarity around purpose. Helps business, helps humans do what they need to do, but then here's the challenge. If we agree that it's as simple as knowing self and people coming together with common objectives, then why do we have these numbers? If anyone can guess what 70% is get some hardware.
So not clear understanding of purpose.
Mm.
Maybe somewhere in the person.
It's that,
And that's 70% specific.
Also 100% specific.
Yeah, this is wild. Like, it could be anything. So
this 70% revolve around the whole organization trying to hit that number on being on the same page.
in a way, anybody else?
70% might align with it.
7% lacks purpose.
Ooh.
7% don't know the
Oh, wow.
I take it for you.
Wow, thank you, brother. So, wow, let's see.
Oh, that's when some purpose right to the road. Yeah, there we go.
So if I am not clear, well, I shouldn't, that's a huge supposition, but if I am not clear personally, if I'm not clear on my purpose, then I'll be more likely to tie it to my title, which is very common in our society, in our culture, that, I'm a doctor, and therefore I care about healing people would be, we know that's not necessarily true. We know most doctors will take great risks to help a person, but that industry isn't really based on healing as much as it's based on, so, right. So purpose is tied to your work. If my parents and I had a discussion about, how I didn't do very well in school, and they could have pressured me like typical Nigerian parents and said, you need to be a doctor, and they didn't, thankfully. But my purpose would have been tied to my work, right? And so McKinsey, and you guys can have this deck if you want, but McKinsey's got a study that delves into like wild numbers. Okay, let's jump to the next. 70%, I don't know who came up with Ray Dalio. Is everyone familiar with Ray Dalio? Yeah. Right? So the most successful investor, turns out that he knows a bit about sociology and things. Say that again? I saw that video too. So long story short, book on principles. It's not a book on principles, it's a book on you crafting your own, some guidelines, but thought that was pretty powerful
What was
stuff.
next one? Did I give away a secret?
No. So next one, we'll guess on something else, because this is so random, but 60%.
Okay.
Let's see. So 70% of people say their purpose is their work, not whatever else might be unique to them, or, right? It's, I'm a physical therapist. That's my purpose. All right, cool. 60%. Family, let's see.
Attitude
Attitude,
for the money.
Family, friends, relation, connection.
let's see. 60%. Survey says, wow. Wow.
I just don't want to be here.
That's
At the cloud, that's the one.
Is there anything left to say? So, Kid Nux, I did very little bit of research. Their numbers seem to, people like their numbers, right? So they could be using bad math, and there could be a plus or minus on their stats. So that 60%, maybe 40%, or it may be 80. The point is that's a lot of people in any given organization or or system that emotionally detached.
That's tough to be a leader. If that's what your team is like, how are you gonna be a good leader?
6 out of 10 of your team,
And then two of the 10 are miserable. Because those people talk a lot.
corrosive element. It only takes one person to be a corrosive element. So what are we doing in a free market, in a society that is, and as compared to many others, the freest? What are we doing in those situations where you can skill up, transform, right? We take for granted in IT, we have high mobility in our field, but almost 80% of people are suggesting that they'd rather be somewhere else or doing something else. Wow, that's a powerful, there's a lot of metrics in that study as well. But let's see what's next.
I mean, don't you think, like, you're asking, like, what do you do?
Well,
I mean, the starting point is probably to talk to those,
starting point is us to talk to ourselves.
or to ask them to understand what their purpose is.
Yes.
Maybe they're not in the right job, or they've got to look at it in a different way.
Exactly.
Or they don't understand what common, you haven't done a good enough job to develop a common purpose for them to lean into.
Bingo. Some of that happened, most of that happened way before they became a member of that corporation. By virtue of the great abundance of our society is that sometimes things get easy and we lose agency. And so I'm dancing around that because it means that sometimes we don't feel like it's up to us to take care of that aspect of us. Our purpose is deviated or it's been assigned, and we believe that it's someone else is more responsible for our individual sense of purpose than. So, the question.
I admit, I have been out of the workforce for quite a while. I don't know if companies' way of working has changed a lot, but the thing of it is, a lot of companies don't share their purpose or their objectives. Like when I was there, it's like, just get this done,
Right.
whatever it takes to get it done, get it done. They don't explain to you why or why you're doing this. It would have helped me better if I understood why I was doing what I was doing. You ask too many questions, just do it.
Right.
Right, don't ask me no questions. Right. And then it's like, you can't blame the people who work there. Okay, don't blame me, because I try to add value to any organization that I work with. But if I'm asking questions, I'm trying to get feedback, and you're just saying do what I say do. And if you push back on me too many times, I'll just like, okay, whatever. I just do it. And it's like, I have no sense of purpose. My purpose is different than the company's purpose. It's not my fault because you're not communicating with me. You're not.
No, this is a good point.
The 19% that's
19%.
miserable, that's how they feel.
This is a good point. Because, no.
It's kind of it's like your body itself. Like the body does everything you can to meet homeostasis. As soon as there's something wrong, you feel some type of pain.
Right.
The body starts sending off whatever signals you need to.
Right.
White blood cells, whatever, so you feel sick.
Right.
To correct that. So it's like you have an arm, you have a leg, you have this and that. All of them are unique individually. And when it comes together, now you have a whole system. So it's like if you have something that's new coming in and trying to add value more personally, right? You want that person to be more punctual. You need to feed the culture into what's been happening.
Right.
That was new.
Yeah.
So,
challenge. The company is who? The people who were closed off to new information, closed off to giving more information, those people are the company. They vary in title, but when we look at it as an entire organism, even though it's executives or upper management, it's part of this is restoring our sense of self, us taking agency in the fact that even at my low position, relatively low position, I'm still the CEO of me. And we partner with the company or the organization or the group that we are part of. So you're right, like there's culture, and I wanted to talk about Operation Hope, where I just resigned from, and there was a cultural misalignment with my purpose as a protector, provider. I'm a technologist, and I even have a thing called a technologist Hippocratic Oath. Just made that up. But it's the way I approach that what I know, I'm going to give it because it was given to me, and I'm going to apply technology in ways that are helpful, people who need it, et cetera, et cetera. But at the same time, corporations may have a different cultural, and I had to have that talk with myself, that sense of self, that purpose that said, even though we have a broader purpose, Operation Hope, yes, what you're doing is amazing. And on my way out the door, it was, leaders, I'm available to you in a volunteer capacity. I will donate next year and make sure I can do a little bit to help the mission of disrupting poverty. That's awesome. But working day to day where, in full disclosure, I don't know who's on the call, but culturally there were some gaps where certain people weren't being treated in a way that aligned with, right? Like my instinct to protect started to come out. Not just myself, but others. And there was so it was me steeped enough in my purpose to step away, do what I could to help influence culture from the side or from the bottom up, put some things in place that hopefully plant some seeds that would benefit. But yeah, I couldn't, things started to move in a direction where me having to decide to turn a blind eye to what I know wasn't aligned was me compromising my sense of purpose and the people who gave me what helped me become who I am, right? Could I face JV and say, hey, I know these things aren't going well, or they don't treat people a certain way, but I just ignored it, right? I couldn't let Big Brother down in that way. I don't think you knew that, JV. So
That's the lesson from tonight, though. Like if you think about those two organizations, one obviously has like purposes like all over the place, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the people in that organization are going to feel it. So you can have another organization where the purpose isn't so obvious, it's more sterile or whatever, just doesn't feel that like it's going to be that great. But you could have tremendous leadership that creates purpose within these individual teams where, yeah, that's it, that's what I'm at.
Yeah.
So that's what the lesson is tonight, really. On like you just said it. You said we have control. We can be the CEO of ourselves. We can be the CEO of our teams and create that type of environment. It doesn't matter. Maybe what our company does isn't that exciting.
Right.
You can make people really feel like they're connected.
Absolutely.
I feel that
put to like inflict the purpose on the employees. So like my company, I'm African, I'm Nigerian, and like my company's purpose is getting African software engineers placed, and that drew me to the company. And I feel like everyone at my company, even though like you might have some terrible days, but everyone at my company knows that we need to get these people opportunities. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's due to, even when we have bad years and we don't get no one placed, and like the economy is bad, the CEO will still have a meeting saying, yo, look, we had a bad year, but we still got to keep going. You know what I'm saying? And find ways to get there. And I feel like that's why people are still there.
Bingo.
And I think that's, what you stated is something that I feel as well, right? So I can scout it to you. Our purpose at the organization I'm with, manage everyday risks, help people recover from the unexpected, and to help people realize their dreams, right? So that's the purpose of the organization. Now, for me individually, like when I look at my list, and not that I was comparing it to what the organization was, but I was focused on me in the moment. I said, I'm here to create kings and queens. My purpose is to path others into their royalty. I get fulfillment from seeing others achieve, which in turn contributes to my achievement, right? So that aligns very well with the organization.
That's right.
Purpose. Then I took a little note, I believe after you made mention of something, I said, you know what, I like creating sea levels in every room. Right? So no matter where you sit, I want you to feel like you have command and dominion over that thing that you're doing, which again aligns to my organizational goals for its policyholders to bring that into the employee base. Then it all aligns. Now, everyone's not fortunate to have landed in a spot that meets their own personal ambitions.
But you increased your likelihood because you
Yeah, it
had
makes it
a
very
sense of, you had that knowledge of self, clarity, and from there, other serendipitous things happen that kind of seem serendipitous, but it kind of pulls you, aligns you with organizations that, thank you for that, you guys. By the way, you guys are competitors.
Yeah, I heard that.
And allies too.
Look, like some of these people are like giving you nuggets of gold. Are you like clinging onto your?
Yeah, well,
There's like matrix.
there's swag. It's so much. But I need this stuff more for myself at this point. I hope we're recording. Everyone leaves with something tonight. Everyone leaves with something. But let's blaze through this a little bit faster because this group is brilliant. 33%. So wait a second. Gallup said only a third. Wow. Only a third. You're one of those thirds. By what you shared about at least your business unit, your company is overrepresented. You guys are raising the average, but we're still 1 out of 3. What are the other 60-ish% doing?
Let me give you a quick example of something. I was on
And you can
LinkedIn
click
today.
just the forward, by the way.
I
Not
was on
yet, but
LinkedIn
it'll just take you
yesterday,
straight. You click forward,
and
forward,
my
forward.
company was recognized like a lot of others in that top 50 for LinkedIn companies. A gazillion employees from the company comment, congrats, blah, blah, blah. An employee from our organization put on there, hey, I've been at the company for 6 months. I have blah, blah, blah experience. I would love to be in a different role, but I feel invisible. I feel like no one sees me. It touched me.
Yeah.
So and everybody.
This was recent, within the last 3 years.
2 days ago.
2 days, okay.
People, hundreds of other comments underneath his, that's congratulations. I saw that evening. I went on, sent my assistant a note. Hey, get this guy, meeting on my calendar. Let's just talk. I just want to talk to him, see what he's experiencing. I didn't give the assistant any detail. I'm just like, hey, I met him on LinkedIn. Get him on my calendar. I want to talk with him. The important piece for me is not that everybody's going to have a great day.
Right.
It's going to be some bad days. It's going to be some bad years. But are they sane? Do they feel connected, where they feel like people care. To me, that's an important component. And that's why you get that third right there, is because sometimes people put the information out for free. They tell you how to make them feel better, but you ignore it.
Ignore it.
You know, you ignore it. So
Right.
it's important. That's why you only get a third. Because they put it out there and you don't say.
Hire this guy. That's leadership in action. That's a differentiator. This is what the alignment looks like, because it's not about getting everyone to perform those exact tasks. But Victor, if I can speak for you, you understand your role as a leader, but understanding that comes after you being a cultural leader, a person who wants to, right, create a CEO with every position. Beautiful, man. Great topic, JV. Let's bring it home with 23. So let's just erase everything I said. Let's, right, like everything we talked about, let's just throw it out. We know the money people, you're either making money, shareholders are happy, or you're nothing, right? Let's just make it binary. You tell me that just above a fifth of profits are basically squandered because we're not doing the high touch or reminding people that they're people. It costs us 23 cents on a dollar. What could you do? What could you do with 23 cents on a dollar increase in your budget? What type of stuff would you buy? How many more Google Cloud instances could you roll out, right? How much more GPT? How many more clouds? How many more service clouds would that buy you? And if you were to click into, you don't have to, but if you were to click into these studies, numbers are crazy about what's happening. Let's see just how, there's one crazy number that, no, we'll just click forward one. I'm sorry, click forward one. And then, so that's the challenge. Alignment helps with this, not everything, but alignment helps with this. Why do we have these disparities and these gargantuan numbers that say empower people, pay attention to people, and our bottom line improves? Let's click forward one. All right. So purposeful alignment. Did you see me having a clutching my pearls? On the line, if someone can tell me how long it would take to count to 1 billion, if you count one number a second, how long would it take you to count to 1 billion? Wait, give me one number.
20 years.
Okay, 20, whoever gets closest. 12? 4.5. 4.5. Straight Neil deGrasse Tyson ripoff. But if you were to do the math, it's 31.5 years to count to 1 billion. So he did a piece about cosmic perspective, and it was brilliant. But bring that up to say that
Did that include daylight savings?
it doesn't, you don't adjust. You're born. He'll measure.
23 and something like.
Yeah,
He got this.
he's out there.
A day is not really 24 hours.
It's not. It's not. Did you have to account for the Earth's wobble? And it's not. But you're basically born and you start counting, and you're 31 when you're done. And that's just to 1 billion. So a trillion is 1,000 billion. So even if 8 billion people is the number is global population and global GDP, whatever number that is, I think the US was 13 trillion economy, whatever the numbers are. I'm not gonna butcher them, but bottom line is, if we aggregate the percentages of people who are not engaged, who are not, and we extrapolate over global economies, and the idea is that there's $7.8 trillion of productivity lost. Does that mean that, how is that realized? I don't know what I'm missing, right? But that may mean the difference between us eradicating poverty or cure for cancer now or 10 years or 100 years from now. Again, it's not the dollar figure. The dollars are a representation of the actions of people. So when people are toiling or not engaged or not really applying themselves in more purposeful or aligned ways, this is one representation of the lost opportunity. That's why it matters. This is one of the reasons why we're asking the question, what are we doing this for, right? Like, why am I in this job, or what's my purpose? Well, the collective loses potential here. Let's look at clarity for a second. So these are the challenges, right? These are the takeaways. Do we clearly know our why? You just wrote yours down. You are way ahead of a lot of people just by sketching that, your why. By the way, we borrowed this from an executive coach and career coach. And when you pay them a bunch of money and you sit down in front of them, and this is the first thing they tell you to do, write these things down. And if we have time, we'll do a little more of that exercise. So do you clearly know your why? Then, once armed with that, do you know your organization's why? You broke it down, 3 pillars, State Farm. I'm a State Farm customer for 20 plus years. And I know I'm paying more than I need to for insurance, but you guys, it's awesome, awesome. But it's because people, like, these are the pillars. This is why I do what I do every day. You make it happen. You let those pillars influence you as a technologist, as a leader, to make those things happen. How often do you engage to review mission statements and confirm alignment in organizational and team member objectives? This is what Cox did very well. Very well. So I'm a car guy, so I always liked the purpose of Cox Automotive. But I also love the fact that the town halls and the top down of empower, give information, as much transparency as you can, that was part of what kept me around there for 15 years. When JV brought me there, no, before he brought me there, we were in the office with Jennifer, and he comes in, account executive, and he's dressed very nice, as JV always does. And he said, "Hey man, Cox, no one ever leaves there." You remember this? He said, that place, people get in, they stay there, and I'm 12 years old mentally. I'm there like, yeah, I'll be out of there. Yeah, I know all of this, and I'm 15 years later. I really gave myself maybe 6 months. I thought I was going to stick around, but it made sense because they were feeding me, right? And they always spoke to the Cox family's sense of purpose. Philanthropy was big. They basically paid us to volunteer. It's these types of investments in people that meant to me, wait, I can go up to my daughter's school and help them with STEM education curriculums. That's when I started Science or Technology Methods 10 years ago. And it evolved from teaching them how to participate in Computer Science Education Week, because giving free information, not free, but giving what I've been given as far as information in my expertise of technology was always a part of my purpose. So I found that alignment in a company that was huge, but they didn't always get it perfect, but they always talked about it centering around people leading from their seat and how great responsibility, great resources, great responsibility. They led with that. So High Museum, you can see one of the Cox matriarchs' names on it, right? So you got that many, $20, $30 billion, you can go put your names on buildings, but they were very deliberate. I saw a Cox piece driving through Ohio, Cox Arboretum and things. So with that said, I was always fortunate to have some degree of alignment, not because I was intelligent, because I was probably a little hard-headed and kind of always stuck to, right? This is just how I am. And those sensibilities helped me back my way into a career in technology. Because as a child, I was always piecing things apart. I was always putting my hands on things. So that evolved into a career of me engineering or piecing things apart in a virtual space. That's developing or application side or whatever it was. So that personal alignment always helped me fall into career relationships that were more productive, mutually beneficial at least. So from a leadership standpoint, this is, my opinion, this is a big one, that as simple as one-on-ones, folks that reported to me, I'm always leery about that matrixed organization, those titles, but folks that reported to me, one-on-ones happened regularly. Those were not add-ons. Those are no different than coming to work and right, sitting down at your computer. You have to sit down and you have to engage. I'm glad you brought up that point, Victor, because you find out a person's why. Right, you come in from a servant leadership standpoint, finding out a person's why.
You dropped a nugget on us in the last couple of minutes. Again, from like a leadership perspective, it's all of the little things that add up. It doesn't have to be one giant silver bullet, like this is your purpose. It can be just what you said. Companies, paid me to contribute to things. That's right. And a couple other things. So it doesn't have to, it can be a bunch of little things that add up that get you to an acceptable level.
That's right. The more details, especially in our field, technology folks, details, right? I think we all have these natural sensibilities, so we're very good at finding details. And the more details, especially in the leadership side, the more details that you can engage with around the people that are helping drive your company, enable your company's success, the more that you'll naturally engineer around those details. So my migration from individual contributor on the tech side to a technology leader involved me shifting, understanding that I wasn't losing my engineering sensibilities. I was kind of shifting from engineering here to engineering outcomes with people. So it satisfied that part of my brain that always needed to be engineering something. But at the same time, it was, how can I turn, it's not first turn into the keyboard or the processor, let me turn to other people and let them give me their details and capabilities as they express them. And then we convert that into shared objective. So that's big. Sitting down, connecting with folks. Last week, Kelly from US Bank at our TAG event, she spoke to listening.
I appreciate it.
Stay in touch. VP of Analytics and Data Reporting spoke to bridging gaps in the organization by just sitting down and listening to developers. And for a second, it was like, oh, shoot, yeah, that was easy. Look, sit down, get the alignment, connect with people, and make sure those objectives, find those cross sections with objectives. Let's jump to the next one, and then before the clock is ticking. So collective effervescence. This found me a couple of weeks ago. JV, you made the point of what does this mean to me? Like, right? People aren't necessarily empowered or have agency to recognize that they do. They can be a CEO from their seat. And this is what organizational psychologists and folks way smarter than me have coined. Actually, there's a lady who, I won't remember her name now, but collective effervescence is a tool that leaders, it's a concept that leaders can use to gain the alignment that not only gives them an understanding or gives the team an understanding of what the objectives are, but it gives them a feeling. It raises our natural way of connecting as people so that we end up wiring up our brains to bring better results to the collective. Better example would be what happens at a music concert. Michael Jackson comes out, some people faint. Some people say they had the time of their lives. The person who fainted missed the concert, but still had the time of their lives, right? But when you're at the concert and you look over and this person is dancing and shouting and screaming and that person is dancing, there's something contagious. There's a resonance that happens that makes you want to then engage at a certain level. These things can bring you up or it can bring you down. At church, there's a reason why those organs are hitting those certain frequencies, because it literally, if you're into science, of Neil deGrasse can explain it better, but the music vibrates you a certain way, and then the message comes afterwards, and it sinks in a little easier if the music did its job. So show me a mega church, that many people in the congregation that doesn't have a killer sound system. If you ever taken a look at, yeah, reason, people are brilliant. So that is a very human condition that, neuroscience, neuroplasticity, and starting to understand a little more. What you're really after is collective effervescence. You're trying to facilitate a culture so that not only can we just understand the the common objectives, but we can bring our, for lack of a better word, spirit to it. And then people are doing things not because of just the value proposition, I get a paycheck. No, they're doing things because by nature, we are wired to connect with each other, support each other, protect the group, advance ourselves, journey together, all of these other things that brought humans from whatever our origin was to here, in spite of our propensity to do bad things to each other. Like somehow we're still more likely to take care of each other, right? Truth be told, this is a volunteer, right? Like families, it's 9 o'clock. I've been doing this for 2 hours and you're still here. That's for the greater good, right? BDPA is in good hands, Future Forward ATL, and I mean that sincerely. So as part of the leadership series, JV, I'd like to submit that as a leader, you're pointing towards collective effervescence. And I should have included the definition there in the slide, but questions around collective effervescence, there's a lot of material out there. The Golden State Warriors hired a fellow, pretty successful organization, but hired a fellow to help take them through exercises that would generate that. The most successful organizations that are aware of collective effervescence have helped these psychologists understand that those who were most aligned, so think of sports folks, think of the Phil Jackson teams. I like to think of the Joe Torre Yankees teams or the Steve Kerr-led Golden State Warriors. They tended to, they analyzed their practices and things. They tended to see that any combinations of players that were together and assistant coaches and things, there was this high level of general shared objective that they were clear on. And that has made them more successful than not. And one more point about, I'm not a big Golden State Warriors fan, but I saw a clip. Draymond Green said that if the events between him and Jordan Poole didn't happen in the beginning of the season, he punched his teammate, like, I was gonna punch my teammate. He said that if that didn't happen, they would still be playing right now, that they just got eliminated. But he's acknowledging that that threw off. He didn't use that term, but I saw that this morning. That injured their cohesiveness, their chemistry, their objectives. The methodologies deviated from the objective, right? So
I'm gonna hit you with a deep three. So next year, San Antonio Spurs.
Yep.
Just got the lottery.
Oh, did they get the
They're
kid?
gonna have like this generational 7-foot.
Yeah, that the
player,
French kid.
kind of like a Giannis. Right?
Yes.
So from a leadership standpoint, what will the Spurs coach have to deal with having someone that's like the superstar? So how do you deal with that?
Good.
And have collective
Effervescence. Good question. So
having like this superstar, like, you know, you probably hired someone to like,
Yeah.
I just hired like a brilliant engineer. How do I make them fit in with the team?
that's a good point. This is why teams are getting fined for tanking. They want to deliberately lose and factor that into getting high draft picks, but also discouraging the stronger, better players from wanting to stick around. The stronger, better players, the established player will want to leave. So that clears the environment for the newer player. And you can start to mold this around the new team dynamic. Is Popovich still the coach of Spurs? I know what he's gonna do specifically. If he's still a coach, he's gonna get Tony Parker to come in as a consultant and spend some time. They've got the cultural connection, French guys and things, and they're going to plug him full of and that comes with clear objectives, alignment, blah, 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 and relationships, and it's been successful. But that's a big piece, collective effervescence. When that showed up, wow. So we want more than just the objective. We want people to feel something connected to it.
You see this woman,
The boss,
boss lady.
she's saying,
She's saying,
get home.
Edwin, but give the last book away and wrap it up. Finish strong. Come on.
Let's do it.
Come on, Edwin.
Let's get at it. Let's get at it.
Finish strong.
Winning. I won't even read that slide. Self-explanatory, and I think we are done. Did everybody get to see that? The list.
See, you took it away from us and we wanted, we still wanted
Wanted.
it. That's really good. Yeah.
Well, JB, you paid me until 9 o'clock, man. I was gonna give you all. But that's it.
Hey, can I get a group picture with everyone together with Edwin in the center, or maybe like, I had this idea of like everyone pointing at Edwin. This is gonna be great. You get in the middle.
The
And I
servant
need
leader,
two tall dudes on the ends.
the servant leader
Like
wouldn't
up
want to be
high,
in the
like
middle.
I want like people pointing at you in the center. Come on.
I guess it's better than throwing tomatoes at.
No, so I'm gonna get the J's and I got one shot across the middle.
Yeah, come on. No, it's all good.
Okay.
It's all good. We gonna. How are we gonna get you in the picture?
3, 2, 1, boom. One more. And now it's gotta be a funny, give me something crazy. Crazy. Your craziest actions. One.
That's my regular
two,
face.
Go crazy, baby.
That's my regular face.
I know.
Hey, wait,
Nice.
we can get you in a picture with my Android phone and I can remote